Good afternoon, I'm Chris Nachkate. Welcome to APTN National News. A Canadian Human Rights Tribunal ruling released just days before the feds announced changes to Jordan's principle raised concerns about a large number of items that were being approved as urgent requests. The CHRT said the shift in Jordan's principle led to expenses being approved for new homes, personal vehicles, and hockey equipment. Those are among the items Indigenous Services Canada recently announced would no longer qualify for Jordan's principle funding. Dennis Ward has more.
In a January 29th ruling, the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal wrote there is an immediate need for a shift in Canada's practice. The tribunal is currently looking at interim solutions to address the backlogs and other aspects of the Jordan's Principle program. The tribunal agreed with Indigenous Services Canada that the so-called back-to-basics approach implemented in early 2022 has had unintended consequences. That new approach led to a 900% increase in the number of urgent requests. The tribunal ruling says under the back-to-basics approach, the classification of urgent requests has expanded to include requests that do not align with what the tribunal originally intended. Modeling headshots, trampolines, lawnmowers, and glow sticks were just a few of the 24 examples Canada cited. The First Nations Family and Caring Society cautioned the tribunal to place little weight on these examples, given the lack of context. However, the tribunal says even with added context such as poverty, compliance with city bylaws, etc., the need for a lawnmower could never justify as an urgent need and is questionable for a deadline compliance of 48 hours under non-urgent requests. The panel does not see these types of needs as urgent requests. At an assembly of Manitoba Chiefs Special Assembly on Jordan's Principle in December, many chiefs spoke candidly about being told by the feds to spend, with some acknowledging some funds were misused.
When you are told by the people that put this program in place, go ahead and spend, and there's no way you could say no to anybody, what do? You listen to them. And that's how it became. There was people, I hate to say this, but a lot of people abused the system where our children could have used it.
The ISK Jordan's Principle operational bulletin posted this week announcing the changes says each new request will be considered on a case-by-case basis.
And our Sierra Bettons will have more on those Jordan's Principle changes a little later in our newscast. It has been almost 2 decades since 22-year-old Danita Faith Big Eagle went missing in Regina, Saskatchewan. The mother of Danita, Diane Big Eagle, hasn't given up and continues to search for answers, hoping someone will come forward with new information soon. CTV's Mick Fable reports.
It was hard. It's still hard. We have no closure, my family and I.
This week marks 18 years since Danita Big Eagle was last seen. Her mother Diane has been persistent, not letting her daughter's name become forgotten. She's hopeful one day her family will have answers.
Hopefully, somebody has remorse or guilt or whatever it's called, and they'll give her back to me. And if I have to wait another 20, I don't think I'll last. But hopefully I'll get her back, put her to rest.
On February 11th, 2007, Danita Big Eagle was last seen on Victoria Avenue near downtown Regina. She was 22 years old at the time, the mother of 2 young children. Over the years, Diane has followed various leads, traveling as far as Vancouver to look for her daughter. The number of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls has become a national issue, bringing attention to cases like Danita's. Connie Big Eagle has been a supporter in the search. She says things need to change.
The justice system teaches society how to treat our people. Whether that's the RCMP or city police need to take these things seriously so that the rest of society will take it seriously.
Regina police say the investigation into Danita Big Eagle's disappearance remains open and police actively continue to pursue leads. Today, Danita would be 41 years old. Her children are now adults. Facts Danita's mother knows all too well, while other details remain a painful mystery.
It's always the same ending. I wonder where the heck she is. Like, who took her? And why? I wish they would bring her back, so that let her go, or if she's still alive. And if she's not, let me know where she is.
Anyone with any information on Danita Big Eagle is asked to please come forward. Mick Favel, CTV News, Regina.
Now to Alberta, where a 13-year-old boy, Eric Omisu, was stabbed to death just over a week ago at an Edmonton light rail train station. At this point, it's still unclear on what caused the altercation between Omisu and others involved. Now his family is calling for answers. APTN's Chris Stewart has more.
It just doesn't seem real. It's like this nightmare I can't wake up from.
Rhonda Spence is mourning the loss of her grandson, Eric Omisu. He was stabbed at the McEwen light rail train in downtown Edmonton on February 5th. In a statement released 2 days later, Edmonton police say that Omisu was with a group of 3 youth and an 18-year-old who assaulted a man and woman in their 30s. The statement says the 2 groups did not know each other. However, Spence alleges police told her the 2 groups did know each other and that the man and woman did have weapons. So she wants to know more details of her grandson's death.
How did my grandson get killed? Did he, was he trying to save somebody? Was he part of a fight? Did he jump in trying to help somebody? Was he a part of, did he do it? Or what happened?
Chastity Phillips is Omisu's aunt. She says the lack of details is causing people to guess what happened.
It's just harmful. It's just so ambiguous, and it has just left open so much room for interpretation, and people just fill in all these narratives, and we've had cruel things said about Eric.
Police have charged the 3 youths and the 18-year-old with aggravated assault, assault with a weapon, and possession of a weapon dangerous to the public. Rhonda says Eric was a good person.
Humorous, joking, loving, always vibrant spirit. All the answers, whatever answer, are not going to bring him back. But as a family, we deserve to have the truth of what happened to my grandson.
APTN News asked Edmonton police for an update, but they provided no further details. Eric Omisu's funeral will be held Friday. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
Manitoba RCMP are investigating a fatal house fire in the Penamutang First Nation located about 240 kilometers northwest of Winnipeg. Last Friday on February 7th at around 8:30 p.m., Gypsumville RCMP responded to a report of a house fire in Penamutang First Nation. The home was fully engulfed when RCMP and the local fire department arrived. 2 days later, human remains were found inside the rubble. RCMP Major Crimes has been investigating this week and says the fire is suspicious in nature. If anyone has information, you're asked to contact RCMP or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. U.S. President Donald Trump has his eye now set on Greenland. That story and much more when we come back. Welcome back. Canada has mandated significant changes to administering Jordan's Principle in hopes of expediting decisions and requests and addressing the soaring and long-standing demands. APTN Sarah Bettens brings us more details.
Indigenous Services Canada has announced new operational changes to Jordan's Principle to, in their words, help the long-term sustainability of the program. Now, applicants must demonstrate how the request meets the distinct needs of the First Nations child and how the child experienced gaps, delays, or denial in accessing government services. Certain items and services will no longer be approved. In a Tuesday interview with APTN, Indigenous Services Minister Hadi Haiju discussed why the changes were needed.
We have to have a better process to streamline requests and to make sure that the information with each request is really clearly identified to, first of all, determine, in some cases, who the child is, and secondly, to determine how that child not having access to that services is in any way delaying or harming their outcomes from a health or a social perspective.
Between 2021 and 2022, there were 614,250 Jordan's Principle requests. In 2023 to 2024, that jumped to nearly 3 million requests, a 367% increase. All future requests will require a letter of support from a health professional, educational professional, or elder or knowledge keeper that demonstrates how it fulfills an unmet need. Requests including the purchase or construction of homes, tickets to sporting events, non-medical international travel, administrative fees, school-related requests will no longer be approved unless funding is required by substantive equality.
We believe at the federal government that every child does deserve equity and access to education supports and to health supports to ensure the best success for that child. But we also believe that provinces and territories have a responsibility within their own jurisdiction to provide equity in education.
Back in December, the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs held a meeting in Winnipeg where First Nations leaders and administrators voiced concerns about the Jordan's Principle system.
In my close to 30 years as an administrator of programs in the First Nations, never been involved in a situation where there were no guidelines for expenditures. There were no guidelines for ineligible activities. There were no guidelines for eligible activities.
Jordan's Principle requests are divided into individual and group requests and are labeled as urgent or non-urgent. In 2022, ISC implemented a back-to-basics approach, allowing the applicant to determine whether the request was urgent. However, this resulted in a 900% increase in urgent requests between 2021 and 2022 and 2022 to 2023. It also resulted in seemingly non-essential items and services, including modeling headshots, gaming consoles, and zipline kits, being classified as urgent. In late January, the father of Jordan River Anderson, the program's namesake, condemned the alleged misuse, aiming his criticism at the First Nation program administrators.
My son's name is being misused and misled. It's sad. We trusted you guys. You were to be born leaders, not to be born fools.
According to ISC, Jordan's Principle has received $8.8 billion in funding to date, and more than 8.7 million products, services, and supports have been approved since 2016. As of December 2024, $6.44 billion was spent on Jordan's Principle requests. Sarah Bettens, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
President Donald Trump is taking additional action to upset the world trade system, with plans to sign an order this week that would require that U.S. tariffs on imports match the tax rates charged by other countries.
The world has taken advantage of the United States for many years. They've charged us massive tariffs that we haven't charged them. And as you know, I just did something on steel and aluminum, 25%. And that'll go up at some point, but 25%, which will level the playing field quite a bit. I did it previously 50%. And Obama was.
In terms of other tariffs, Trump adds he will be signing an executive order today to allow reciprocal duties. He says the U.S. will match any tariffs from other countries. Quebec First Nation, northeast of Sudbury near the Quebec border, has been in a years-long dispute over storing nuclear waste on its ancestral land. As APTN Savannah Craig reports, provincial party Quebec Solidaire announced its support with the Quebec on Tuesday at the National Assembly of Quebec.
The Algonquin nations' fight to protect their territory from nuclear waste has expanded from the federal government to the Quebec government.
And today I stand before you in partnership with the Quebec Solidaire, the Parti Québécois, whose support for our cause has been unwavering.
Just over a year ago, the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission issued a permit to build a low-level radioactive disposal site in Chalk River, Ontario, just a kilometer from the Ottawa River. Despite Quebec being just over 200 kilometers from the site, Chief Lance Heyman is upset with the decision. Quebec Solidaire critic for Indigenous issues Manon Massé is demanding action from Quebec's Minister of Indigenous Affairs, Ian Lafrenière.
We know that in the environmental law, we have an article which says that if you're not sure, it's called précaution. If you're not sure, choose the precaution side. So that's why we're asking, by side of the First Nation, that the gouvernement du Québec have to say no to this project.
C'est comme mon collègue le dit, pas une, mais à deux reprises, on a rappelé les devoirs au gouvernement fédéral.
Lafrenière says his government wrote to Ottawa and the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission, and he has been in contact with nearby communities, but he says this issue is the federal government's responsibility.
Dans notre cas, on veut que le fédéral fasse sa job.
Chief Heyman says he has also received support at the federal level from the Bloc Québécois and the Green Party. When asked about allying with sovereigntist parties, Chief Heyman says he does not share the same viewpoint on Quebec independence.
When we talk about independence, it causes me some heartburn, but at the same time, we need to build alliances and we need to build support from all the parties.
Chief Heyman says the current focus is protecting ancestral lands and waterways from potential nuclear contamination.
Because if we don't have that political support, it's really hard sometimes to get our agendas in front of politicians who ultimately can, make a decision that could help our cause.
Savannah Craig, APTN National News, Quebec City.
We now want to tell you about this week's third web poll question. Over on our website, we ask, do you think anything has changed in Canada's policies since the siege of Kanesatake in 1990? Your answers are yes, no, or unsure. You can go to our website at www.aptnnews.ca to have your say. Tiara Wheatley is back with another Mother Tongue series with a new language lesson. That story when we come back. Fredericton minus 13, Charlottetown minus 9. Cartwright minus 16, La Grande River minus 21. Gaspé minus 9, Quebec City minus 11. Sarnia minus 3, Sun in London at minus 4. Big Trout Lake minus 31, Wawa minus 11. Minus 35 in Churchill, Puckatawagan minus 35. Minus 27 in Barons River, Princess Harbor minus 27 as well. Sunny in Swift Current at minus 24, Regina minus 26. Minus 32 in Uranium City, Buffalo Narrows minus 29. Minus 22 in High Level, Fort Chipewyan minus 28. Minus 15 in Red Deer, Medicine Hat minus 13. Kamloops minus 6, Penticton minus 4. Prince George minus 10, Smithers minus 10. Minus 15 in Watson Lake, Old Crow, Sun and minus 29. Watii minus 30, Norman Wells minus 24. Minus 22 in Sax Harbor, Inuvik minus 28. Minus 29 in Chesterfield, Whale Cove minus 29. And Arctic Bay minus 17, Resolute minus 13. It's that time of year again where people gather to celebrate the rich culture and history of part of the Northern way of life at the 2025 Northern Manitoba Trappers Festival. Visitors, dignitaries, spectators, and dog mushers will gather in the Paw to celebrate their 78th annual Northern Manitoba Trappers Festival. Some events for the festival include a parade, a fur queen competition, a king trapper competition, as well as a junior jigging contest. They also have dog sled races with total prizes worth over $55,000. The festival's website says the goal of the festival is to get people together to honor the rich culture of trappers' history by keeping traditions alive in 2025. With a lot of different events, there's a little something for everyone. The festival runs from February 12th through until Sunday, February 16th. It's time now to take you to the roots of an Indigenous languages with Mother Tongue Teachings. All month long, TR Wheatley is introducing you to knowledge carriers from Turtle Island for I Love to Read Month. Today we head south of the border to hear from a young Oglala Lakota musician.
Haumidakuyepi Matoa Yuhi Machiapelo. Hey everybody, my name is Matoa Yuhi. I'm enrolled in the Oglala Lakota tribe of Pine Ridge, South Dakota. So Lakotas will use L, Nakotas will use N, and then Dakotas will use D, or they use B as well. From a linguistic standpoint, they all have very similar roots. I've always liked this phrase of don't poke a sleeping bear, and that can mean a lot of different things, particularly because my name means bear in Lakota. So Mato, it translates to bear in Lakota. And so the phrase is Mato wa ishtina cha pajipe shniyo. So I'll say that again. It's Mato wa ishtina cha pajipe shniyo. And I kind of like that because I don't like to be poked literally or figuratively. Well, I do music as for a living and as my career. And so I have been able to do a few different things within language. I did the music for Reservation Dogs, and so I just got a lot of different influence within like the Muskogee Creek language and everything like that. So, and then I've gone up to Alaska to do music with the Gwich'in tribe and learning about their language. And so yeah, I've gotten a good breadth of different language, I guess just like education. In no way am I like I'm not fluent in Lakota whatsoever, and I'm not fluent in anything really in terms of like interacting with different Indigenous communities, and if they feel encouraged to like teach me their language, and that's kind of part of the interconnectedness between us all. Don't poke a sleeping bear. Mato wa ishtima cha pajipe shni yo.
A big thanks to Mato and TR for that lesson. If you want to see that lesson again and all the others we have aired this month, go to our website at aptnnews.ca/Mother Tongue Teachings. Here now is our Fraser Needham to tell us what's ahead on Nation to Nation. Fraser?
Coming up after the evening news, we talked to Assembly of First Nations Regional Chief for Ontario, Abram Benedict, about what First Nations in his region think about Donald Trump's continued threats against Canada. Also, Dale Swampy of the National Coalition of Chiefs is here to talk about where First Nations fit in as Canada positions itself to trade its energy to non-U.S. markets. And finally, Howard Sapers is going to talk about his new report and finds solitary confinement in Canadian prisons is not a thing of the past. All this ahead on Nation to Nation.
Thank you, Fraser. And that's your daytime newscast for this Thursday, February 13th. Dennis Ward is back for your evening newscast and a new Truth in Politics panel. Make sure to join him then. From all of us at APTN National News, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again. Excellent.